One of the things that you always hear Christians talk about is knowing God, right? I think there was even a book entitled Knowing God. Well, I have a couple thoughts on that, by the way. Hi, my name is Timmy Gibson, former fundamental evangelical, tongue talking, Bible thumping, Holy Ghost rolling pastor. Did that for 30 years and spent 48 years as an evangelical Christian. I escaped the cult, y'all. I'm free of that delusion and got out about 7 years ago now and living the freedom of being a non-believer in hocus pocus. So, how can you know God, right? What we would say, what I used to teach and preach is that you know God through his holy book. That's how you know God. You know God by reading his Bible and going to church. Like that's how you know God, okay? And study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman is worthy of, it, 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 it's just that circular reasoning. You want to know more about God? Read, get deeper into the Bible. And it gets squirrely, right? It gets very squirrely because you can't know God. You can't know God because there is no God to know. If by chance there was a God, no religion knows. No religious holy book knows or has any kind of truths in it. Like that is literally, that's impossible. Of course, Christians are like, no, we know the real God because our Bible says. Like it's just so nutballish when you really look at it. Just use your brain that God gave you and just think about it for a minute. If there was a God who's beyond us, above us, blah, 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 all the stuff that we used to say as Christians about God, are all wrong. None of those things would be correct if there was some celestial divine being out in the universe. One, he's moved on. He done created the earth and he's on to doing other stuff. Okay? There is no God, right? I mean, I'm just playing along. As you know, what I often do is kind of play along with my old former delusional beliefs and talk about and kind of debunk even the thoughts that and the beliefs that I held as a former evangelical Christian. It's so weird when people say, I know the true God. Like that's a comment I get by Christians, and I'm sure they'll comment below, cuss and discuss, all you lovely people. But they'll say things like, "You don't know the real God." Like you do? No, you don't. You can't. That one, there is no God to know. Firstly, like that's the most important thing. But if I played along with you just for a minute, clearly you couldn't know. We as humans couldn't know, just like we don't know aliens, right? It's pretty. I think everybody's pretty confident that there's probably life out in the universe somewhere, whether it's intelligent or not, we don't know. But there's a lot of planets and a lot of stars and a lot of stuff going on out in the world, so I'm sure there's something else out there. I think the latest on Mars is they're pretty sure that there once was life. Maybe single cell life. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know yet. I'm sure we'll find out something. I sure hope we do, because I don't know. I'm curious how Christians are going to spin that, right? What I would love, what I'd really love? I'd really love for the aliens to just come down here and say, here's what's up, y'all. And like on our planet, we have our own divine being, and he walks with us and talks with us, and he sacrificed his son called Javiva. And Javiva gave his life so that we could be free from from hell. We worship Javiva. I mean, like it's made up. It's clearly made up. You can't know God. I can't know God because there is no God. And if by chance there is a God, we little humans, we little mammals, we little animals, we can't know God. You can't see him, taste him, feel him. Now, people make up the feelings. It's the placebo. Because this is a question I actually get often. People ask me, they say, well, had you not had any experiences with God? Well, no, because there is no God. So, and I realize it now. And here's what's interesting, because I once was in that world and now I'm clearly not a believer anymore. I realize now, because I still have like hair tingling experiences. I still have experiences that give me goosebumps, and I still get moved to tears, and I still what. And here, a little confession. This might shock you all. I still listen to, not all the time, but there are times I'll still listen to a little Kirk Franklin. If you don't know who Kirk Franklin is, look him up. And if Kirk Franklin, if you're watching, bro, we got to be in touch. I want to talk to you. But, Kirk Franklin, man, I love his music. I love his energy. I mean, you can't help but be moved by his music. And, it's Christian, I suppose. I think he was pretty fundamental, and he's a little bit more open-minded, a little bit more culturally relevant, and I know this because he's getting hackled by all them Christians. Christians are the worst. Christians attack their own people all the time. It's nuts. Honestly, a lot of my content, besides coming out of my own brain, my own experiences, clearly, 48 years of it, there's a lot of it in there. But it comes from Christians who attack other Christians. That is just bizarre. Really, that is just absolutely bizarre that Christians can't even get on the same page, get on the same team, without, well, he's a false prophet over there. Oh, it's like the pot calling the kettle black. You're all false. You're all delusional. You're all believing a man-made myth. So you're all on the same team. Why don't you guys start walking in love together and getting unified? But they can't. Everybody thinks they got the truth. I got the truth. It's crazy. What was I even talking about? Oh, you can't know God. You can't. You can't know God. And in fact, if someone says, I know God, God speaks to me, he's cuckoo, she's cuckoo, they're nuts. I mean, that's just like clearly right. And you're saying, well, I know some good Christians and they're not nuts. Well, of course, I have some good Christian friends. A lot of my friends are, I live in the Midwest, right? I'm in Kansas City. So, most everybody would probably call themselves Christian in some way, or at least say they believe in God. I was raised Catholic, so I don't believe in all the Catholic stuff, but I still believe in God. And that's fine, right? I've said this so many times. I don't claim to know whether there is a God or not. I just don't see any evidence to convince me that there is a God. That's what atheism is. Right? A lot of people think atheists are like these evil people that don't believe, or say God don't exist. Well, it doesn't seem like there is a God, so it's most likely God doesn't exist. But I for sure don't ever say that I know that there is no God. I just don't see any evidence to make me want to believe there's a God. For the longest time, I did believe in God. Despite what some of you nutty Christians say, I did know the Christian version of God. I still have a lot of, as you know, I pop out scriptures out of my brain all the time because, I studied the Bible for 30 years heavily, 48 years a Christian. I was one of those rare Christians that actually did read my Bible. I've read the Bible many, many times and studied it, read it, meditated on it. Laid in bed with the Bible on my chest to keep me safe from the demons. Guys, I did some crazy stuff as a Christian. When I think about some of the stuff that I did, I remember I remember putting oil over the top of my front door of my house to ward off any evil spirits, any demons that thought they might try to come into my house and bring fear, doubt, unbelief, or some kind of demon of some sickness, you know. Thankfully, I was already walked away, pretty walked away. Is that even a, that's not even a right sentence. But anyway, I had left my evangelical fundamental beliefs by the time that COVID demon got getting around. And otherwise, I would have been, I'd have been casting out that COVID demon that's trying to make me sick. I would have definitely been that. I was that guy. I know. You look at me now and you think, really? Yeah. No, I really was. I was that guy that if my car was acting up, man, I'd lay hands on the engine of I'd lift that hood up, put my hands on that car. I'd be like, in the name of Jesus, I pray the demons out of my carburetor. You know what's so funny? It's just absolutely, I did that stuff all the time. You say, Timmy, you telling the story. No, it's a true story. I literally laid hands on my car that it would be healed. It didn't get healed. I took it to the mechanic. That's another thing that's so funny about the Christian faith. Why do you even go to the doctor? You know the great physician. Why do you go to the doctor? And you know another thing that's so funny to me is when Christians, especially again the crowd I came out of, which was real into the laying hands on the sick and they shall recover, all that bullshit. I I believed it, and so I find it funny because it's like Christians that believe that stuff, they'll pray that stuff, but then they go to the doctor. Why? Because they know down deep it don't work. What else? How else would you explain that? If you pray, believe in your heart that Jesus is going to heal you, by His stripes you healed, then you healed. What you going to the doctor for? There's nothing the doctor gonna do. You know the great physician, right? So what are you going to the doctor for? Why are you taking that medication? Honestly, I do have a little bit of mad respect for those that are hardcore. They believe it. And they don't go to the doctor. They don't take medication even when they need it. It's a shame. It's terrible, especially when kids are forced, in that environment. And, there's a lot of tragedies that have taken place because of that moronic belief. And yet, there are hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, dear Lord, you can watch them on TV. They believe the stupidest stuff ever. And yet they go to the doctor. I would say something right now, but I haven't fact checked it, so I better wait to say it in another video. But there's a famous preacher right now. I think his wife has dementia. How is that possible? How could that be possible? He's a famous preacher. You'd all know him if I said his name, but I need to look it up and see if his wife indeed has dementia. Because see, that's the devil. You should be able to pray that away. What's the problem? Why ain't he doing nothing for you? I'd said that to someone one time. It was a family member that was talking about how it was like they were talking about how God healed them of one thing, but then they had more than one thing wrong with them. And well, God healed that part. I have heart issues, and I have cancer, and I have whatever, leprosy. And God healed the leprosy, but he forgot the heart problem and the cancer. What is going on? I mean, again, I always say this, but if you just use your little brain up here, that's just completely nutball. That's just crazy, right? That you're going to pray that God heals, but He's going to heal one part. It's like you lose both arms. God said, well, I'm going to only heal one of them. And then the other one's going to teach you a lesson about thankfulness, how you should be thankful. Oh, goodness. So anyway, what was I talking about? About knowing God. You can't know God. Sorry for those of you that, well, I do, Timmy. I know God. He found me a front row parking space. Cool. God, apparently that God's helping me getting parking spaces too, even though I'm an atheist. What's up? That's crazy. God's still helping me. God's still blessing me, even though I don't believe in him. Yeah, it's wild, man. It's just crazy. So yeah, I find the belief that I once held that I knew God, and that, I really felt like I did know God because I really did. I mean, if I like just you know, I did. I really, really was convinced that I knew God, and I think mainly because I had a good understanding of the scriptures. I was well read. Um, so yeah, I mean, I just felt in my heart that I really did indeed know God. And now I just realize I didn't know God because there is no God. There is no God to know. And if there is a God, no one can know God if there really was a God. I just think I think it'd be beyond the human understanding to even know anyway. But I'm atheist. I don't believe in God at all. Uh, but at the time, I'm just thinking back in my mind. I felt like I did know God, and I felt like I did understand, the message of Jesus, and that I did have a grasp on theology. And I think that's another reason why, I often talk about being amongst the health and wealth gospel and the name it, claim it group, and that group. I I didn't stay in that group for very long. I was when I was in it, when I was first exposed to it, which was in 1991, which is when I was went off to a charismatic Bible college down in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. You can figure out which one it is probably. It wasn't Oral Roberts University. That one was in Tulsa. But we hung out with those peoples too because they had a similar belief system. So, I quickly came to terms with, like, once I graduated that Bible college and got out, you know, doing church and all the stuff that I was doing. I realized that was heretical. I mean, obviously, it's all heretical. None of it's true, but I'm talking about, again. I'm playing along here. I just realized pretty quickly that that's not true. That that God doesn't want everybody healthy and wealthy, and if you had enough faith, you could move mountains and heal disease and walk on water and turn water into wine and feed 5,000 people with 2 loaves and 5 fishes or whatever. It's funny. I had a lot of potlucks as a church person, and ain't nobody's food ever multiply. I never went up to that green bean casserole and dipped it out, and everybody dipped it out, and it just kept filling back up. Never once did I ever see anything like that. Right? That'd be dope, right? I mean, that's the thing. There's no one's seen a miracle, like nobody. Now, things we can't explain, yes. Things that are out of the norm, of course. Nobody is seeing miracles, not real ones. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not happening. It's just absolutely not happening. And and it really is a placebo effect, especially when that's what you want to see, because placebos work. Placebo, like, that's a real thing. I forget what the percentage is, but it's pretty high. It's like 20 or 30% or something like that of placebos will work. Like, you have a headache, I give you a sugar pill and say it's an Advil. Like, my headache's gone. Well, it wasn't the sugar pill, clearly. What was it? I don't know. Like, that to me, that's the miracle, right? Like, that's crazy that you can believe that it is a painkiller, And it worked like a painkiller, but guess what? It ain't a painkiller. And to me, that's just like God. Well, you can believe in God. You can feel like God's walking with you and talking with you. You can feel like that all you want, but guess what? It ain't God. Just like the sugar pill is not a painkiller. It's a sugar pill. At the end of the day, it's not real. It's the same thing as it relates to God. I don't care if you feel like it. I don't care if you've experienced the move of the Holy Spirit. It's not real. It's all made up in your mind. You've made it up. It's just placebo. It's not real. Even when you had I had a real experience with it. Hey, listen, I'm not discounting that you had some kind of an experience, right? Just like I wouldn't discount someone taking a placebo sugar pill and then when they say it took their headache away, I mean, it didn't. Like, you know what I mean? Like the actual sugar pill was a sugar pill. It wasn't a painkiller. So the fact that it took your headache away, it wasn't the sugar pill. It was something to do with your own body, right? And that's the same thing as it relates to God. You might feel like you know God. You might think you've seen God or heard God or felt God. What? You haven't. You just haven't. I mean, that's just it. You haven't. You feel like it. That's fine. We've all felt a lot of stuff. I think I referenced this earlier in a video. I love crime documentaries. I think they're always just fascinating. And there was a one of a many cases where they thought the suspect was a certain person, right? And people were just like, I felt it in my heart. He did it. Even police, even the FBI, we were certain we had our man. They you know what I mean? Like I felt like I just knew there was something about him that was off. I knew he did it. And then the DNA forensics and all this stuff's come back. Well, he didn't do it. No, it's like, it doesn't matter what you feel. No, I'm certain. I felt it. I feel it. I know it down deep in my soul. That's fine, right? I mean, I can't argue with what you're feeling, but your feelings don't make it true. I mean, it doesn't make it true. All right. I'm gonna be saying this a lot. But by the way, cuss and discuss down below. Like, subscribe, do all the stuff. By the way, I'm in my new home. We just got into a new house, and all my plants aren't up here yet. So this background will change, and I'm gonna need to kill that light back there because that's affecting the light that's coming in through this window right here. All right, guys. Appreciate you so much. Do like, subscribe, do all the stuff. I do have a Facebook group called Timmy's Deconstruction Community. We'd love for you to join it. I think you'll love it. It's for atheists, agnostics, those going through the deconstruction process. And yeah, peace, everybody.